Doc, can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, take it away.
Good.
Thank you, Doc.
So this is the title not only of the event, but my talk, The Intention Economy, from tracking to trust. You can find me online many places, but doc.searls.com is the main one. And if you want to get in touch with me, doc@searls.com. Makes it simple. So a little bit of background. I've been all over tech, but I started out in some ways, even after I was a journalist, in newspapers and magazines, with an ad agency. This one here, Hodgkin, Simoni and Searls. That shot was taken in 1978 in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm the guy on the right, about 50 pounds lighter, and I had hair then. But here's the important thing about it. What differentiated us as an agency was this: ethical advertising. What a coincidence, but it really was. And we started as a tech agency in North Carolina. We moved to Palo Alto in 1985, and were there in Silicon Valley until 1998, when we sold to Publicis. And during that time, we had a big successful agency. We had, lots of clients, Sun Microsystems and Norton Utilities, Symantec, many others, and endless startups as well. And that name was on a building. And so, I come from this as well as, just tech writing, which is what I've done the rest of my life. And this is the book I came out with in 2012 from Harvard Business Review Press, The Intention Economy, When Customers Take Charge. It was the second book I was involved with. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But I want to zoom in on this, When Customers Take Charge, because that's the key thing. And there's my zoom. And here's a little bit of a background. I started with the Cluetrain Manifesto in 1999, which I'll discuss, but go the other direction. And Project VRM. VRM stood for Vendor Relationship Management, the customer side counterpart for customer relationship management. We wanted to give customers a hand to shake with CRM in '06. That was at the Berkman Center at Harvard. The book came out in 2012, this book with the blue cover, and then MyTerms, which is front and center with us right now in 2026. So that's the historic progression there. But we'll start with Cluetrain. I won't go into the whole thing. One of the ugliest websites ever created. It's very Web 1.0. But the key thing in here, the thing that got quoted the most, was this one: markets are conversations. It's something I started saying with Hodgkin, Simoni and Searls in the 70s. But when this website went up, it really took off, especially with marketers. And by the way, everything is called a conversation now. When you hear about the political conversation or some other conversation, it probably started here, and you can blame me for that. The book, the original book, is on the left. It was actually in Dayglow. That orange was Dayglow. You could put it in, you can control traffic with it, and it was silver at the bottom. Really great on a bookshelf. It was a business bestseller, and a second anniversary, 10th anniversary came out 10 years later on the right there. Main thing though is it sold entirely with marketers. It didn't sell very much with you and me, as it were, the everyday person, which is what it was for. It really began with this one-liner. And that was also in the manifesto. We are not seats or eyeballs or end users or consumers. We are human beings, and our reach exceeds your grasp. Deal with it. We were speaking in the voice of the customer there. And an interesting fact about that is that here's the subtitle of the book, When Customers Take Charge. And that is not true. Cluetrain has been wrong now for 27 years because customers are not in charge, and they need to be in charge. So there's a reason for that. And the reason is that we actually live in two worlds right now. This is a really critical thing. We've been in one since the species began, and the other one since 1995, when ISPs and e-commerce and graphical browsers showed up in volume. And that is only, 31 years. This is not much. We're going to be digital for an infinitude of time from now on. This is a very new world. It is very early. The older I get, the earlier it seems. And that's a perspective I want you to have for this. And here's in respect to privacy, which is what we need in order to make civilization with that new world we have that is not civilized yet. It just isn't. We've had privacy tech for 170,000 to 40,000 years. estimates vary. And I tried to get ChatGPT to give me the same people on the right holding phones over their privates, but it wouldn't do that for moral reasons. It's so it's so careful, but it would at least show people leaking data out to the world and getting digital benefits from that. My point is, we have no privacy tech. It doesn't exist. We don't have clothing, which is all of us in this room, I'm sure, are wearing privacy tech right now. We have manners. You don't reach inside somebody else's clothing to plant a tracking beacon on them. But in the digital world, we do that. So it looks like this. We have the opposite of privacy. We are observed at all times. On the right there is a page x-ray of Wired.com. Wired will write endlessly about privacy and how Google and Facebook and Meta and everybody, they're all invading your privacy, and they are participating totally in this system. You go to any website and data about you is leaking out all over the place, and it gets auctioned off on the right there. That's a lot of what's happening. And then, of course, you don't even know what gets done with the data after that. And so if you look at what customers could do, if customers are in charge, this is what they did. Starting in the mid-teens, they started blocking tracking on their browsers. And that's a piece that I wrote in September of 2015 when Business Insider that said ad blocking was approaching 200 million. Later, in the later teens, I saw numbers as high as 1.7 billion. But here's an interesting thing. And I've left out a lot of slides that I had in my first draft of this. If you look at interest over time, this is just searches. What's happened in the last year really is tracking protection. In fact, it's outrun searches for ad blocking by a wide margin. And that dotted line on the right, by the way, is not going down. It's just they don't have the data yet. So that's something that's going on. Another thing that's going on is, of course, and everybody searching for inferred intent is in the advertising business. And there's this understanding now, and it's an incorrect one, that you can infer people's intent. Our intent is radically personal. You can't infer it. You could guess a lot at it, but it's not good enough. You really need the customer involved. So how do we get from tracking to trust? There's the tracking stage. And this is not the way. Like, I have almost 2 million miles with United. I fly a lot. And they default to showing me advertising cookies. I have to go in and turn that off. And I had to click what time to get down to this. And in fact, that isn't going to make any difference because on the whole, cookies get set even before you meet that cookie notice. Most of them are not obeyed. We have no way of checking on this. There's no way to audit it. It is completely bogus. And it's one example of how, new technology tends to protect yesterday from last Thursday. The GDPR protected 2018 from 2015, and we're stuck with it. And we need something better than this, and we haven't actually. Thank you, GDPR. I'm skipped ahead there. Let me just go to this. The only way we get to trust is by solving problems on the customer side. You have to give the customer leverage. And here's the GDPR. The top one there, the data subject is given consent. These are the lawfulness of processing. Now the bottom one, F there, is what Google stands by. Like, it's necessary for a legitimate interest. We have to be advertising. And there, but the first one is the data subject. That's what we are. We're a data subject. Has given consent to the processing of her personal data. But the second one is this one. Processing is necessary for the performance of a contract in which the data subject is a party. And that's where we're going with this thing. So this is way back in the early teens. We created customer comments on the Creative Commons model. And the idea there was, and we had this idea that is now MyTerms, but we had it back in the aughts. But we created customer comments as a nonprofit to be the place where the terms that we have as customers can live and we can proffer to companies. And the Creative Commons model says that everything should have legal code, human readable and machine readable. Before Creative Commons, the only way to do copyright was the bottom one on the right, all rights reserved. But if you look at the top one on the right there, I put that red box around it because I have 100,000 photos online. They are all Creative Commons licensed for this way. I put none of them in Wikipedia, and I probably have more photos in Wikipedia than anybody because I use that license that allows anybody to use them, and all they have to do is credit me. And that's a real innovation. And a cool thing there was that John Havens in the room approached me on behalf of Customer Commons in 2017 saying, how about a standard for that machine readable stuff? and so I put that little symbol on there. And that's the original PAR, the project authorization request in 2017. And it took us 9 years. It shouldn't have. It should have taken 2 years, frankly. But I could give you stories for why. But it doesn't matter. It's done now, and it looks like this. And I'll run down through this. It's called MyTerms in the same way as IEEE's 802.11 or 802 standard turned into Wi-Fi. Our nickname for IEEE 7012 is MyTerms. And it says the persons of the first parties, not the sites and services. Persons proffer the terms as contracts to the sites and services. They're the second parties. Both parties interact through agents, which could be AI, of course, but could be as simple as a browser plugin and a web server add-on. Terms are chosen from a collection of standard form agreements and a roster kept by an independent and neutral nonprofit entity like Customer Commons. There will be others, just like Creative Commons. And matching records of agreements are kept by both sides in forms that can easily be retrieved, audited, or disputed. And if a second party fails to agree, the record of that can be kept by the first party. You're just looking at the standard. This is the whole thing. It's like 45 pages, but this is pretty much it. And there's a diagram that looks like this that I won't detail, but says what I just said. And if you go to myterms.info, we have a website up just for this. And if you're in Silicon Valley, next Monday we'll have an event. And you can talk to me about that. These are two of the first agreements that we have up. These are drafts. We don't have the completely done version of it yet. Again, it's very early. SD Base says the base level is service delivery. When you walk into a shoe store, the service delivery you're expecting is to, there'll be a salesperson there. You want to look at shoes, you'll interact with them. You'll get their service. You're not looking to leave there with, 500 invisible tracking beacons that's following your whereabouts from that point on. So, but you can build relationships on top of that trust in the first place. The one on the right is for data portability. There are three more. One that has to do with you can use my data for AI training. The one you could use data for good is the middle one, but the one on the right is the one that I think will matter to you guys, and that's enabling the actual intention economy in which people share their data voluntarily under their control. That's called intent casting. It's advertising the other way. I need a stroller for twins downtown in 3 hours. Who's coming through? I need I need this is what I did. I need a VW all-track between 2017 and 2019. That's the SEL model under 100,000 miles. I did that 2 years ago by calling up many Volkswagen dealers, and one of them finally came through. I could just do that with one click with this. So there's a huge opportunity there if you see the customers taking the lead in the dance with the advertising people. So here's a summary. I think MyTerms is the only path to real personal privacy. It's the best way to create real trust between peoples and businesses online. Again, a MyTerms agreement could be the first in many, but it says the customer starts with a handshake where they're in charge of their side. So we create real trust and the opening to far more business than we'll get from surveillance and guesswork, no matter how much AI we put into it. So this started with Project VRM. We have MyTerms now and Customer Commons and the IEEE. That's the foundation, but I wanted to show you this because Tim Berners-Lee read the intention economy a few years ago, and he created the Solid project in Inrupt, which is a company, and then all of these other entities are involved as well. Consumer Reports we've worked with a lot, My Data in Europe. And I want you guys to join as well. So just join the effort. This is a conversation. I said, market's a conversation. Let's talk about it. This is me again. That's where to see me and how to reach me by email. And one last little gift to you guys. Last week when I was working on this, I thought we need a symbol for what intent is. And we don't have a symbol for a customer, by the way. A symbol for a company might be a building, but for a customer, a men's and ladies' room symbol, that's not going to do. So we still don't have that, but here's one for intent. And I drew it, and then I had ChatGPT redraw it because I'm not an artist. But there's just something to put in your head as the thing we need, a symbol for intent. And that's it. Thank you very much.
That's a good figure, everyone.